Okay, the recording started. I'm going to try putting you on Facebook.
Great, thank you. So thank you all of everyone who's joined us. We're going to start. Christina's adding me to Facebook right now. If you're watching the replay, thanks for joining the replay. We had a glitch and Christina is unable to hear me. So we might accidentally talk over each other a little bit, but she's getting this shared to Facebook right now. And then we're going to do a quick review of what we talked about yesterday. At Melissa's request, she was in the chat box a little earlier. And then we're going to go ahead and dive into today's lesson. So hopefully everyone can join us, at least in the replay if you couldn't join us live. So, okay, great. We are now live on Facebook. Okay, so I'm Reverend Erin Ashley Kearty. I'm the founder of spiritualmechanic.com. And this series is how to go pro with your spiritual gifts. And we're going to talk about today the half-booked, fully charged method of,
I think it should be
half-booked,
on.
fully paid method of charging.
And make sure.
And what'd you say?
But you can go ahead. I think
okay.
it should be live, so you can go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to type to Christina. She has no idea what I'm saying. Okay, so first off, a little bit about what we covered yesterday. Yesterday, we talked about why now is the time to step into your gifts. First off, life is a lot better whenever you step into your calling, and life is really good whenever you are fully in touch with your own calling. Okay, great. And so also you want to think about the world as a whole.
Okay, I can hear you actually on Facebook now.
Okay. So you can hear me on Facebook? That's so funny. Okay. I might ask you, Christina, if you could mute yourself because you're starting to, I can hear the background. Let me type that to her. Life is a lot better whenever you step into your calling. Okay, she got it. All right. Thank you. So anyway, thank you so much for bearing with us. So basically the world is in an energy state right now where we are at a decision point. We can either choose to step into love, an easier way of doing things, a more harmonious way of doing things, or we can choose to have more struggle. And we get to choose as a whole, right? We get to choose as a whole. And that's why so many people are being called into this work. Regardless of what you're doing with your spiritual work, it is always healing for the person you're working with, your clients, the sitters that you read for, etc. And so that's why so many of us are being called, is because we are at that decision point. And as we shift into the new ways of being, we will have the opportunity to heal ourselves and heal each other and help usher in a better way of relating with one another that's more harmonious, that feels better, and is more fun. Okay, great. So, all right. So any other questions before I dive into today's stuff? I'm really excited about this, and I'll just be watching the chat box. So I want to tell you a little bit about my own charging journey, like why it was so hard for me personally to do this. And what happened for me is I was really insecure. I did not start this business or this work feeling sure of myself. I started this feeling completely insecure. I felt like I didn't know what I was doing. I felt like, who am I to be charging for this? And who's going to want to pay me for this? And what does it mean about me if I charge? I felt like people would assume I was a scam artist, right? I really thought people were going to come out of the woodwork to tell me that I was a scam artist, to be mean to me, to try to tear me down. Now, the good news is most of that didn't happen. Every once in a while, I'll get a hater or someone who's genuinely negative and trying to tear me down, but it's pretty rare. And the majority of people who I'm with every day very much care about me and my success. So that's one thing. And then I also have a lot of students who have gone through the Pro Psychic Mechanics course, which we're not going to talk about too much today. And this particular method helped them step into their power, and it helped them actually figure out how much they should be charging. There's a problem that happens when you're only listening to your intuition and you don't know how much you need to charge to cover your bills. Sometimes the place where you're comfortable charging, that you need to charge for a short time period, is not enough to be sustainable. So it's really good for a week or two, or maybe even a month. But anything beyond that, it doesn't really help with, right? And so, okay, Christina finally got it. Come on in, Christina.
Hi. Oh my God, I'm
Hi.
so sorry about that. I realized that in Zoom I had some kind of setting that I
Oh
could hear you.
no.
So, but I'm hearing you perfectly fine. And I just want to say hello to everybody. Thank you for joining us for day 2 for Go Pro with your spiritual gifts. I can't wait till we get to the part where Erin Ashley tells us about being half booked and fully paid. I'll have something to say about that and why that is so important for the work we
Yes.
do. But I didn't want to interrupt too much. I want you to go ahead and share your story with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. That's so exciting that I can finally see you and hear you simultaneously, and you can hear me. Okay, great. I said that backwards. Anyway, so basically, the whole half booked, fully paid method means that as soon as you have half of the clients that you need for your month, you have all of the money that you need for your month, right? Including saving for taxes, right? Everything you need for your personal life, your business life, and your tax life. And this is so crucial because I cannot tell you, I've been in this business professionally for 8 years in April. So 7 years and 10 months. We can round up. And I have seen so many people start their business and their starting price, the price that gets them a little bit of momentum, is something like $20 for a reading or $10 for a reading. And that's not sustainable. It might be good for them to have for a very short period of time while they're still kind of getting momentum, they're getting comfortable with their gifts, they're trying to figure things out, gain testimonials. But as soon as you are doing this as a full-time gig, you want to make sure that as soon as you're half booked with your clientele, that you have every single bill paid. And this is for multiple reasons. First off, if you are fully booked, then you want to make sure you have enough money to hire out the things that you may not have time for right that week or that month. You want to have room to grow your team or advertise or whatever it is you feel called to do. And also, it's really important whenever you are half booked, if you feel like you have too much open stuff on your schedule, you don't also want to be worried about when you're going to be able to pay all your bills. So you need to add a lot of comfort into your payment structure. And so I have a calculator that I'm going to share with you. And the calculator is pretty simple. You're going to choose how many sessions you want to do per week. Now, if you've never done this professionally and you're still kind of feeling it out, most practitioners do between 15 and 20 sessions per week. Some people do a little bit more, and some people do a little bit less. And so I recommend just starting with 15 if you don't know what else to do and you haven't really tried it yet. And then you're going to put in your monthly expenses. And it can be an estimate. Now, a quick note that I'm sure you understand, but I still need to say for legal and ethical reasons. I'm not a tax professional. I'm not a financial planner. This is supposed to be used as an estimate. This calculator is supposed to be used as an estimate. It is not necessarily meant to be used as your tax or financial planning tool. Right? This is a good thing to get you an idea, to get you some clarity about how much you should be charging. And so this calculator adds in roughly 30% for taxes because in the US, that's just a wise amount to pad for. And again, as soon as you are half booked, you should be able to save 30% for taxes, have enough to pay all your bills, etc. All you need to know is what your monthly expenses are. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can't paste the calculator and let me send it to everyone. Okay, Christine already did it.
Yeah, I just pasted it in the chat box. I'll paste
Perfect.
it into Facebook too. And I created a little bit.ly link for it to shorten it. So
Good.
it's bit.ly/calculoid, CALCULOID. Might want to click on it and make sure that's the right one, but that's the one I created.
Yes. Good. So Christina, I've shared a little bit of my own opinions about why this is so important, especially as someone who's been doing this for 8 years, and I've worked with lots of people who've gone pro. For you as a fellow professional in the field, why is this so important?
Sorry, I was just typing that in. You know what? It's so important because a lot of the work we do, I mean, there's an energetic exchange, whether you're doing tarot or where you're psychic or intuitive, energy clearing, and even astrology. That takes a certain amount of psychic focus and psychic energy exchange. I personally really like to just give all of my focus and everything into my sessions. Now, in the beginning, I always felt so drained. And I remember you teaching me some techniques where I can actually feel more enlivened after doing sessions. But even still doing that, your energy is precious, and it's all about units of energy at the end of the day. So it's so important that for me, I feel like I'm honoring the work I do. I'm honoring my clients by limiting how many one-on-one sessions I do a week. Now, some people may be fine doing 50 sessions a week or whatever. I personally like to balance it with one-on-one sessions, which now I only do on Thursdays and Fridays. And the rest of my week is course creation or writing or other things that could then lead to, touching more people. And all of that has come from working with your methods of knowing that I don't want to be overbooked. That's the key, right? Like in coaching or whatever, we always hear about being fully booked or overbooked. Well, I don't want to be overbooked. I want to actually give quality service to all of my clients.
I love that, Christina, because that's another piece of this. Burnout in this industry can be a problem if you don't honor your energy. And Christina, you mentioned something too that I want to speak a little bit more in depth about, and that's the idea of energy exchange. Now, everyone is in a different financial place in their life, and that's okay. It's okay to have people wherever they are, right? And it's okay to serve people wherever they are, so long as you are not stealing from your own life force and your own financial and emotional well-being and your energetic well-being. And you want to make sure that you have healthy boundaries financially, spiritually, energetically, so that when you're doing this work, you know exactly what you can do for other people. So for one person, $5 might be the same as $500 for another. That's fine. But you also need to make sure that you can receive enough to feel very financially secure. Otherwise, what happens is you start to feel fatigued, and then resentment starts to build. And there is nothing quite like knowing that you're doing your calling and knowing you're giving your heart and your soul to your calling, and then looking at your checking account and realizing you don't have enough money to do the things that you need to do in order to continue to do your calling. It creates a very special kind of pain. And for a lot of people who I've seen go through this because they didn't know yet how to charge appropriately, it created a sense of failure, a sense of shame, because they felt like they were not worthy of the calling. And that's not the case. They simply didn't know how to find the right price. And they also might not have known, depending on the individual, how to own the appropriate price. Right. And that's really important. And I meant to mention this first. I got a little bit off my original flow because of our fun, our adventures. But I want to talk about the problem with charging what you're worth. You're an infinite being of unique magic, of unique blessings, and so is every other person on the planet. And if you try to charge what you're worth, no one could afford you, and you could never afford anyone else, because your inherent worth has nothing to do with money. Money is how we do an energy and value exchange as human beings being in relationship to one another, and that's all it's about. It's not about your inherent worth as a human being, your inherent worth as a spiritual worker. This is much more about the value that you can bring to people in a given exchange. And I highly recommend that you kind of start to do the internal work of parsing out and releasing the idea that you need to charge what you're worth. because all you're going to end up doing is, regardless of what you charge, you're going to feel like you need to charge more because aren't you worthy? And then that creates a dynamic where you feel like you always have to reach for more. And it makes it very hard to feel okay and satisfied with what is. Lao Tzu said, only one who knows what enough is will ever have it. And this is especially true whenever it comes to money. Make sure you know exactly what you need to charge starting out to have everything met, all your needs met, and then start to do any internal work to match that. Okay. Anything to add on that, Christina?
Just it made me think of, I heard recently Lee Harris, who does that, he's got that great energy reports he does on YouTube, and he's like really big time now. But he said early on, he'd had a client that came to him and he'd heard about some other energy, someone who did what he did, energy, like channeling, that was doing like a $2,000 workshop. And he said at the time that was big to him. Now he charges much more than that. But at the time he was like, wow. And he asked his client, well, why do they charge more? Like, what's so special about them? And the client just looked at him and said, oh, they do exactly the same as you. They just charge more. And something, and so in that moment, something just hit him. Sometimes, the message just really finally hits you, even though you probably heard it like 20 million times. And he was just like, whoa, what? And he realized that, and then he said the same type of thing. It isn't about your inherent worth, but it's about ultimately the worth that you choose to put on your time and services. And he said, like, when you go and get a job, somebody else has decided that job for that time, for your experience, is worth X amount per hour, and maybe there's other people in the industry that believe about the same thing. When you go out on your own, it's up to you. You're the one making that decision, and I know for me, sometimes you see what other people in your field are charging, but you don't even want to get stuck there. I want to be where you were saying, Erin Ashley, to know that I'm at the very least going to cover my expenses for the month and not be burnt out. And then from there, I can, if I want to work harder and make more, I work harder and I make more.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. And same here. And Carol asked a really good question. And that's, do either of you do energy exchanges for services or goods that you need after you have enough money for your month? And if I'm very, very, very close to someone, I might, because if I have a really close friend of mine and I'll send energy healing to her kids, etc. But that's someone I've known for 25 years. For the most part, no. I have online courses, and if someone goes through a 30-day forgiveness course, they can fill out a scholarship application. But when it comes to my time, I have a lot of free resources out there. And at this point, that's why the free resources exist, is to help people who don't have the money. Like, for instance, everyone who's showing up today, you're here and you had to pay zero money in order to be here. And we're so grateful for you being here. But for both of us, it costs us money for you to be here. And that's not anything for you to feel ashamed about. We're happy to do this. This is a service for us. We love doing this. But we do it because this allows us to reach more people. This is our way of giving back and helping people and reaching people. But it's one of those things, especially whenever you get into this profession, you want to think about that. Even if you give something that is free for other people, it's still going to cost you money to produce, and it's going to cost you time and energy to get out to the people who need it.
Yeah, and I also feel like I really want to value and honor people that did whatever it took to pay for my services. First, I realize for some people it might be a struggle and it might have taken something from them. But I know for me, when I was first, getting a lot of readings or going to a lot of workshops and learning astrology, it took something from me, and the best astrologers and the best teachings, I did what it took to raise my game. I started raising my prices just so I could learn from them. And now I expect that from people. For me, when you're in this downward spiral of I can't afford this, no one can afford me, that takes you on a downward spiral. Yep. If you start elevating that spiral, to I'm worth something. And even it's like, I want to go to this conference, in 6 months, and I want to pay for it from my astrology services. That's a goal and it makes it fun. It makes it exciting. It gives you, and then you don't have to make excuses to anybody about anything. You know that you have a goal, and that goal is fueling the purpose that you have signed up to take on.
Yeah. And I want to talk about this, Carol. It's really important that we start talking we don't see tax professionals going through and doing exchange of services for the most part, right? Like that doesn't tend to happen with tax professionals. It doesn't tend to happen if you have a mathematician. They're not necessarily going to do something on an exchange. Same thing with scientists, same things with a business professional. All of these other professions, we have found a way to honor their time and energy and gifts. And in our profession, because of how our society has structured our expectations surrounding spirituality, as well as, and I'm going to be honest here, a lot of people come into this work with needing to do some healing with self-worth, right? It's really common. It's nothing to be ashamed of. But it's something that tends to tie in with their money story and why they feel like they cannot charge. And it also impacts other people's ability to perceive them as someone who can genuinely help them, because they're in a place where they have a really hard time accepting payment for their services, especially appropriate payment for their services. It can be really hard for other people to be like, oh, okay, this is definitely the energy healer that I want to go to and pay, right? And so there's a dynamic there that you want to think about and you really want to meditate on and clear, because you do want to be in a space where you feel comfortable charging and not think, okay, well, as soon as I hit the bare minimum of what I need financially, then I'm going to stop charging, right? That sets you up to be in a financial predicament 30 days from now, 60 days from now, maybe sooner. You don't want to get in that. You want to allow yourself to be fully booked and well paid, and you can always gift people money and resources if you really feel that call.
Yeah, I think it's important to do it if you check in with yourself and feel that it's a yes, not out of guilt or out of duty or if I should do it. I'm over that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've paid a lot of money to a lot of quality astrologers and healers and tarot readers, and I understand the value. And I think it's something you said to me once, Erin Ashley. It's like, how can I expect people to pay me what I feel I'm worth if I'm not willing to pay people what they're worth? I actually just recently put on my Facebook page, please no PMs. If you want to book a session, here's my website, because I still get people just messaging me, wanting free advice. And I just don't have time to do that. If they want to come to something that I'm offering for free, I do new moon and full moon videos every month. I mean, that's a lot of my time that I'm offering for free. I'm not going to cast a chart until I'm paid. I just think that's it's an internal shift that has to happen, an internal commitment that you need to make to yourself.
And I also really like that, Christina, because what Christina is exhibiting right here is really, really, really good boundaries, right? She knows exactly, I know I'm talking to you, talking about you in the third person, but she knows exactly what she's willing to do for free. And when she shows up for those free events, fully present, 100% there. 100% present for everyone who is there and ready to receive the value, regardless of the fact that it's free. It's not like it decreases her expertise or she's, not fully invested in it. She is. And it's the same thing. You can choose to have a free event, whether it's online or in person, or find a way to give stuff for free, but make sure you create those clear boundaries. This is what's paid. I'm going to receive money for this, and this is what's not paid. This is what I'm going to give to the world because I genuinely feel called to. And so, yeah. All right.
I wanted to ask you if, and I know I said I wasn't going to share my screen, but I actually think it's good to do it today because do you want to walk people through the Calculoid
Yes,
that I
I
have?
do.
Okay.
Actually, I would
Are
love
you
to.
ready? I
Yeah.
can go ahead and share that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Okay, let's see. Let me just make sure I don't have anything in the way. Can you see it?
I can
Does
see
it
it.
look
All
good?
right.
Okay,
Yep.
this.
Okay. So I put, this is basically a placeholder. So number of sessions per week. If you've never done this work professionally and you need to kind of guess, then I'm going to recommend that you put between 10 and 20. Put 15 if you've never done that before, right? If you have, then you want to honor your energy. Your energy might tell you that, you know, like if you do 10, you start to feel exhausted. Or if you do 30, you feel exhausted. Everyone has a different place where they feel really good. In general, when I'm doing this full time, I'm doing about 15 to 20 sessions per week. Then you want to put in your monthly expenses. So the monthly expenses are just your rounded idea of how much you need in order to pay all your bills on time each month. Don't include taxes with this. The taxes are a part of this calculator. I actually made an algebraic equation and created this calculator so that you don't have to math, right? A lot of people called to this work don't enjoy math, and that's just fine. That's why I made this calculator. And so this means that each session is going to cost $173.33. Now I ran that up to $175 because usually there's transaction fees and such, which again, you know, don't worry about that. $1 or $2 in transaction fees isn't a big deal. And so I'd round it up anytime that you have a question about that. And so go ahead and show us, Christina. Let's say someone is really has really positive energy, or they have a lot of energy. They can do a lot of sessions, and they're really dedicated to doing a lot of sessions. Let's say they want to do 25 a week. And let's say they have a larger family. Let's say it's $6,000 per month in expenses, or who knows? It depends on where in the country you live. This is all, you know, so dependent on individual situations. So now you can charge $156 for sessions and have all your bills paid whenever you have about 12 or 13 sessions per week, right? All of your monthly expenses are paid at 12 sessions per week, including saving for taxes, which, by the way, when you start your business, make sure that you are saving for taxes so you are not blindsided by that the end of the first year that you're doing this.
And save all your receipts if you go to any conferences and things
Yes.
like that.
Save all your receipts, get yourself a good tax professional. As soon as you're making more than $2,000 a year with this, you need a tax professional to help you with everything. $2,000 a year, not a month, a year. Okay. So let's say someone has a chronic health condition. They can only do 10 sessions a week, and let's keep the monthly expenses the same. Okay, they need $400 a session, right? That's just what it costs. That's what it costs. And so what I want you to do when you're looking at this, I want you to be honest with yourself. If you don't know what your expenses are, take the time to actually go through your bank statements and find out how much you're spending on average a month. Like, it doesn't take that long to do. It won't take you very long to figure that out. But actually figure that out. It's something that's really wise to know anyway. And if you're going to do this as a profession, you do want to get comfortable with your numbers. You don't have to be a mathematician. You don't have to do a lot of algebra. You just want to know your basics. Okay. And so I highly recommend that you do that. Okay. And so let's see here. Do we have, Christina, do you have anything to add there or any other thoughts?
I think it's just really eye-opening to see it, you know, in the first place, and then to be able to sort of play around with it. And that, you know, and then once you look at how much can I really do with one-on-one sessions, and then how much do I need to, and this could be another topic for another day, but, you know, I quickly learned, and I remember something you said, Erin Ashley, that, for instance, astrology is something that lends itself to teaching early and often. And so once you start seeing like, wow, one-on-one sessions, I'd have to charge a lot or do a lot to really make a lot of money. How can I then serve more people? And, you know, I mean, just teaching what you know, I think is so important. And you'd be amazed how many people out there just want, you know, just to even have the open door to whether it be tarot or astrology or whatever it is you do. So that would be kind of the next step. But that's my first thinking is there's so many options over and above even just one-on-one sessions.
Yes, and there really is. And at this point, you know, I've been in business for 8 years, and I have 4 courses. I have 4 courses now. I had to count. I have 4 courses now, and that's supplemental income. You know, so I can do a lot more, and it's a way to reach more people once you get enough sessions under your belt that you really know what you're doing. And then you can teach early and often, especially with astrology does lend itself to teaching early and often because of how much changes day to day. And so that's really great. With the psychic work that I do, this stuff has been around for thousands of years, as long as humans have existed. So as soon as you actually understand it, you can teach it as soon as you're comfortable with your skill set and you are ready to share that with other people. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about owning the prices. As you saw, there's a wide range of prices that you might need to start with. Remember, these are starting prices, right? These are starting prices. These aren't necessarily what you'll be charging once you're 8 years into it. And so in order to do that, you want to know the price and then you want to practice owning it. The first thing you want to do is do a check-in with yourself. Hopefully you've played with the calculator at this point. And just feel, what does it feel like when you look at that number? What emotions do you feel? And so whenever you feel into it, is it like, oh, okay, yeah, it's not a problem. I can own that price. You know, if someone were to come up to me and say, hey, I would like to get a reading from you or a session with you. How much is it? Could you say that price with no hesitation and feel comfortable in your skin as you did so? And if, as you're imagining that, you think, yeah, I can. You're there, you can own it. If there's a part of you that's feeling insecure or a little anxious about doing that, then you want to practice owning it. And there's a really easy thing that you can do. And all it requires is a mirror. And you just look at yourself in the mirror and you just say, my price is $200 for a 30-minute session, right? And that's what you do. And then you let people do whatever they want with it. And then you can imagine the different scenarios. Someone says no, okay, that's fine. You know, I have some free resources here, or I know this other person here. You can refer people out. But please do not, if you need money in order to live, do not give away your sessions for free if you're trying to build a business with this. If it's a hobby and a side thing and you're not trying to make money from it, you're not wanting to build it as a career, own that. It's okay. You don't have to do this as a career. You can do this as a side gig. You can do this as a hobby. But if this is what you're dedicating your life to, if this is what you're giving the majority of your time and energy whenever you're awake to, then you want to honor that by making sure that you are giving your energy whenever there's an appropriate energy exchange, especially the money energy, right? The thing that you can't go to the store and say, could I pay my grocery bills by giving you a Reiki treatment or an astrology reading? It'd be great, but that's not how it works.
Maybe one of these days there will be a grocery store for astrologers.
Right? It'd be great. But we're not set up for that. Our society isn't set up for that. And that's okay. That's okay. But allow yourself to practice it in the mirror and be very gentle with yourself, especially when you feel insecure. Hands over the heart. Say, I love myself. It's safe to feel anxious. It's safe to charge. And it's safe to feel good about the money that I am asking for. Then you take a couple of relaxing breaths and you do it again. And you practice. And especially at the beginning, it's going to feel kind of strange, right? Because maybe you're not used to talking to yourself in the mirror. Maybe it hits on all of your insecurities. Can we hear my cat? She's really having a good time.
Oh, I thought that was a baby.
No, that is my cat. She is so happy right now. She got her favorite toy. And for the last 10 minutes, she's been playing outside of my office. Just outside the door. She's so funny.
We have a question actually from the chat box.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'll go ahead and share and read it. It's from Melissa. She says, do you feel that putting thought and energy into this will blossom the flow towards attracting attracting more clients? For me, there's a lot of competition in my city. So how do you suggest separating yourself and attracting your clientele that will pay your prices? And do you feel online building is more effective? And I'm guessing she means online versus like networking or something.
Right. Yeah, really good question. So number one, yes, doing this work, whenever you're in a place where you feel confident and you can own your prices, whenever someone is looking for an energy healer or a spiritual practitioner, they are taking in the cues of whether the person can help them, but also whether the person is ready to be fully present for the work that they're doing. And that includes, making sure that your financial health is taken care of. So they are looking for that. And also, you definitely want to come on Friday because we're doing a Calling Souls to You ceremony, and it's going to supercharge the work that you do today. And that is where you start actively, energetically calling in the people who are right for you so that they can recognize you when they see your energy. It'll be like almost like they're remembering you. I can't tell you how many people find me and they're like, oh, wow. The second that I saw your picture or the second that I saw you were doing this thing, I just knew that you were the one to teach me, right? And it's because I regularly connect with people on the energetic level, those who are right for me, right? The people who will get the most from the gifts that I personally have. And everyone else, some people aren't going to quite resonate with me, and that's okay. They can go find someone else. That's wonderful. I'm all for, I cannot serve 7 billion people. I can't do it. I don't want to do it. But I am here to serve the ones that I'm here to serve. And you are too. And so whenever you get to that space, there's no longer competition because it's just about welcoming that sense that you're going to have the exact clients that you're called to have. And everyone else who's not called to you, it's safe to let them go on their way. And you don't have to do anything to force them to see you, right? Or force them to connect with you. I also, to answer the second part of your question about online work, I have found it so helpful personally. I do almost everything online, and I started teaching in-person classes in Las Vegas. I lived in Las Vegas at the time. And that's how I started. I taught in-person classes and I did in-person psychic readings. And that was good for about a year, but I found myself getting really burned out from how much energy it took to do the in-person work. I'm an empath, so I will experience other people's emotions. And I found that doing things online allowed me to have a dedicated space that had all of my own energy, that was under my own roof with, as you can hear, my cats who decided to join us today. And it allowed me to do my work in a much better way for me, and it's allowed people from all over the world to connect. So it's likely if you feel called to do this work and you feel that tug to the internet, you definitely want to explore that. It's likely going to have something that's helpful for you. Good question. Good question.
I agree. Okay, well, is there anything else you wanted to say on this topic before we maybe give a little preview of tomorrow?
The only thing I want to say is if you haven't already, make sure to run your numbers. If you have questions, make sure to email me at ea@spiritualmechanic.com. I tend to be fairly responsive to email, or at least I will be this week and next week. But go ahead and just let me know. That's what the email is for. And if you're watching the replay, you can do the same thing. Go ahead and email me your questions. If we couldn't answer it live, this really is for everyone. Go ahead and email me. I'll see if it's something that I can assist with over email. If, of course, a session makes more sense, I will give you the link to that. All right. Anything else from you before we do a preview?
Well, I wanted to just remind everyone that, go ahead and after the call, you might want to open up your PDF and look at the day 2, page 2 on the Half Booked Fully Paid. There's 4 really powerful questions there that Erin Ashley has come up for you. Why is it important for you to step into your power and charge an amount that supports you financially? Really getting to the why is really important at this stage. And then there's the link to the Calculoid, where you can play around with looking how much you should charge to be covering your expenses. And then she asks, why is it important to build a buffer into your prices? Can you just
Yeah.
maybe explain a little bit about what that means?
Yes, I really want you, whenever you're exploring that one, to get into your reasons about why you want a buffer in your prices. And if you find yourself coming up with excuses about why you don't really need a buffer, I want you to think, I want you to dig a little deeper. I want you to feel through those insecurities. If they are insecurities, I want you to dig through them, because think about it. You know, we in general, did we really incarnate to not be comfortable physically? You know, and sure, there might be times when we do growth, but I really want you to dig into it in your daily life, day to day, and the little things that you would do or the big things that you would do. Why is it important to have that buffer? What would you not worry about if you had a buffer? What could you honor if you had that buffer, right?
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And the final question is, what would you choose to do that you aren't doing now if you were able to make a full-time, comfortable income from your spiritual work? And actually, I would even ask, how would that even feel to do that? I mean, there's something, I mean, there's just, even on the hard days, you know, even on then, because, you know, we all have tough days or a tough week or month. But even then, I just think about how fortunate I am to be doing work that is important and is meaningful and fulfilling. And I wouldn't want to do anything else. And that can really spur you to just, you know, get real, make some real decisions for your life. It's harder to take the first steps, right? The very
Yes.
first steps. But once you do, it's like riding a bicycle, pretty much. It's all downhill from there.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Yes. You do get momentum. You do get momentum. And I mentioned this in today's email, and I'm going to finish with it too. Take imperfect aligned action over waiting to feel ready. It is so important to just honor that, because like Christina just said, it really is about, it's like a bicycle. As soon as you get a little bit of momentum, you start to feel so good. You start to realize that you are in alignment. You start getting positive feedback, and it all starts to flow.
I do have one question in the Q&A box from Trudy. She says, how much should the buffer be? Is that like a percentage or?
Yeah, half booked, fully paid. So you need to, if you have every session filled that you could comfortably and reasonably do in a month, you should have double the money, including saving for taxes, that you would need. So if your expenses are $4,000, then you need to have $8,000 plus taxes saved when you're fully booked. So that's what that buffer is. It's usually about twice.
Okay, so that's like the half booked number that'll get you, so you're working comfortably, you're covering your expenses.
Yep.
And anything above that is like the buffer, right?
It's the buffer, yes, and it allows you to grow. It allows you to feel comfortable. If you actually want to take a vacation, I hear people like those. You get to do that. If you want to, like for instance, I really enjoy having cool, interesting hair, right? I can easily afford to do this because I use this method at the beginning, right? Well, as soon as I figured out that I could use it, it took me a couple of years. Don't spend a couple of years, do it straight from the gate, please. But yeah, so you want to honor that so that you can do the things that are really enjoyable to you, that light you up.
And make you look light, like
yes.
and golden hair. And we also have a comment from LJ. She says, this is a great topic and thank you for covering it comprehensively.
Yeah.
This is why I love Erin Ashley's work, is because she thinks about the things that most of the time, well, you know, you've been down the road and you've figured certain things out the hard way, and then you've kind of distilled it into wisdom that you shared with us. So I really, really thank you so much for this. And so for tomorrow, day 3 is the 4 phases of going pro. So you want to tell us a little bit on that?
A lot to say about that. I'm going to keep it short because we've been on for a while. If you've actually managed to stay with us with all our tech glitches, thank you so much. You are the real MVPs, and we love you. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about the 4 phases of going pro, from basically you realize, oh, this might be a calling, to having your first charging, paying client, the first person who says, oh, okay, here's my money, and you fully receive it. Right? We're going to talk about how to go from that, the 4 phases, and I have some unique perspectives here. And I don't see anyone else teaching it the way I'm teaching it now, this year. I'm assuming people will catch on and start teaching it this way in a year or two, maybe sooner. But I do want you to show up live if you can, so that you can identify your phase with us, and we'll have a bit of a conversation about what to do depending on your phase, and how to really get yourself going.
Great. Thank you so much, Erin Ashley. And just a reminder to everyone, we're doing a giveaway on Instagram, so make sure you check out Radiant Astro on Instagram, where we're giving away Erin Ashley's Psychic Mechanics course that teaches you all about tapping into your intuition. That's a $97 value. We're giving 3 of them away this week only. We're announcing the winners on Friday. So get onto Instagram and check that out. And then we'll be on tomorrow at the usual time, 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern time. Again, if we're a couple minutes late, please hang in there, because we're people that like to be on time, and we show up when we say we're going to. So thank you again for hanging in there with us today through all the tech glitches, and we hope that you will join us tomorrow for part 3 of our 4-part series. See you then.
See you then.